We are grateful to His Excellency President Mohammed Irfan Ali for such an insightful and amazing presentation to our audience. We thank you for his support, and we hope everyone enjoyed that. It gives me great pleasure to introduce one of our great partners in this whole effort, Mr. Shaun Baugh, who is the program manager and agricultural and industrial development at CARICOM. He has been instrumental in bringing the relationships at all government levels together in so many things in the agricultural side of the business. But for us, Shaun, you've been instrumental in pulling this event off at such short notice, and we are grateful for all the work you do and what a great partner you are. I will turn it over to you to introduce your esteemed panel to give the perspective of the agri-food landscape of the region. Thank you, Shaun.
Good morning, John, and thank you, and good morning to everyone who has joined us. Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, investors, I have the privilege of being the moderator for three of the champions of the region. We are the champions who have been promoting food security, who have been promoting regional integration in the form of agriculture. With us, we have Honorable Floyd, Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries and Mining within Jamaica, from Jamaica. Also, Honorable Minister Clay Sweetin, Minister of Agriculture and Marine Resources and Family Island Affairs. And also Honorable Minister Indar Weir, Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Barbados, and Minister Sweetin is from the Bahamas. I'm happy to have honorable ministers here at this forum. This is an important conference for the region because it brings into to highlight the efforts that's been made by the region in its 25 by 25 food bill reduction strategy, and also attracting investment into the region. Now, let's start off by posing questions to the ministers for them to just give us and the audience a quick understanding as to how is it that they see the food system, agriculture in the region. And I'd ask them to say, and I'll start with Minister Green, what do you describe as the top three areas for investing in agriculture and in fact would see returns for potential investors? Followed by Minister Sweetin and then Minister Weir.
All right, thank you very much, Shaun, and let me commend you for the work that you're doing in the Secretariat, really championing this 25 by 2025 initiative. I think it is definitely one of the most ambitious and important initiatives that the region has embarked upon, especially considering that it speaks directly to our food security. You would also allow me to say commendations to President Ali. In fact, I really felt like all of us could just adopt what the president has said, and that would be good because he did give a comprehensive picture of the region. It's not just of Guyana, but of some of the not challenges but the opportunities that the region possesses at this time that makes it very prime for agricultural investment. So you have a specific question in relation to the top three areas. And based on the tremendous opportunity that now faces the region, it is very difficult to pick out three areas. But I want to start, and I'm sure as we go on, we'll be able to explore other things. I do believe that there is tremendous opportunity now, as the president did say, for investment in post-harvest facilities. When you look at the setup, the ecosystem of regional agriculture, we do still have a number of small farmers, right, stretched across the length and breadth of our islands. That is the case for Jamaica. We have over 200,000 farmers. And we do have a number of highly efficient production zones, right? But what it does is that, unfortunately, there has not been, largely because of significant investment in post-harvest facilities. So it does lead to periods of glut, unfortunately, and periods of shortage because there is the lack of storage. I do believe that you could get significant returns if persons were able to look at the areas in which we have tremendous amounts of self-sufficiency. And in our vegetable lines, for example, in Jamaica, we're self-sufficient in most of our vegetable lines, but self-sufficient in a lot of our fruit lines. But again, lack of post-harvest facilities means that we do go through this period of shortages, the period of gluts, and if someone were able to invest, store, you will be able to moderate the price, you will be able to get significant returns on your investment. So I do believe there's tremendous opportunity for storage across all our crop lines that people could really benefit from. So that's one. Two, our spices, we do have tremendous international demand, especially for Jamaican spices. We do have a distinctive flavor profile. And we are coming from a state where we used to be, for example, the number 3 supplier of pimento to the United States of America. Clearly, because we are only minutes away, literally, from the US shores, there is tremendous opportunity, especially with the arrangement that we have, for access for people to invest and be able to get direct access into what is the largest marketplace in the world. So things like Jamaican ginger, there is a $1.2 billion market for Jamaican, for ginger in general, $1.2 billion US market for ginger. So things like ginger, turmeric, which is a $124 million US market, pimento, those are areas that I think are really good for investment. And one of the good things that we do have in Jamaica is opportunity in relation to land. So as we have transitioned from sugar, there are thousands of acres that have become available for investment. The last thing I would say is, well, before the last thing, just to say, Shaun, and it would be good for investors to know that already yam is our number 1 export from Jamaica, right? And we do know about 30-something million US dollars in yam export, but that is probably less than 20% of the demand. So I just leave that as another area that people can see that there's tremendous potential. Finally, aquaculture, our fishery sector. Our economic zone in relation to our sea space is over 10 times the size of our island space, right? There's still tremendous potential, especially in relation to deep line fishing, in relation to mariculture, tremendous opportunity for things like Jamaican seaweed, Irish mush. Everything in aquaculture now, I think, presents a real opportunity for potential investors. So storage, spices, aquaculture will be my preliminary comments.
Thank you, Minister Green. Minister Sweeten?
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Shaun, and congratulations for putting this together. And I would like to congratulate Honorable Floyd Green for his appointment. Welcome to the team. And also Honorable Weir. I see he's a doctor there now. For us, I think we've been very ambitious with this reduction of 25% of imports by 2025. And in the region, all of our countries are so different. For example, in the Bahamas, we're in the hurricane belt, so our challenges are much larger in that regard than countries further to the south. So when we look at how we're going to invest and how we're going to eliminate or reduce imports, you getting that feedback?
Yes.
Honorable Minister, I think you might have another window open. If we could close that window and keep this one open, we should be good.
How about now?
Better, much better.
Okay. Yeah. So for us, until recently, we didn't promote foreign direct investment in agriculture. For the most part, it was just in country and locals. But for now, we're entertaining persons that want to invest but also ensure that a Bahamian component is a part of the investment in agriculture. So what we did when we took office, we looked at ways that are bankable for agriculture. We went to Guyana, we went to Jamaica, when Pernell Charles was a minister, and looked at how they're doing in the poultry sector. Because the reality is, if we can eliminate poultry imports, that's around 10% of the food we eat in the Bahamas. We launched the Golden Yolk Project after traveling to those two countries, which would eliminate egg imports by 1%. So that would produce 100% of the eggs we consume in the Bahamas. So we looked at poultry, which would be around 10% of the food that we consume in the Bahamas. And then we looked at containerized farming, because there again, we're looking at climate change and storms and how it disrupts the patterns in the Bahamas, because here in the Bahamas, we don't have access to crop insurance as countries such as Jamaica and other countries in the region. So greens, when we look at greens and containerized farming, that would eliminate another 12% of our imports, which would bring us around 22%. And just with those two alone, we would be well on our way for 25% reduction in imports by 2025. The last point I'd also like to make is to piggyback off of Minister Green's point on post-harvest. What we have done, and we've already purchased food kitchens that we are going to disperse through the Family Island that would help with this post-harvest production and how we can can and add value to cash crops that otherwise we wouldn't sell on the ground. So we've already engaged in that. We're looking at pineapples. So, we have the Sugarloaf pineapple here in the Bahamas, which is, might I say, probably the sweetest pineapple in the region. I could claim that today. So we're looking at those three areas, and once we accomplish that, I think we'll be well on our way to reduce our imports by 25%. We import over 90% of our food. We have the same issues with other countries in the region where 80% of our farmers are over 60 years old. So we have to find technological advancements in agriculture that can engage the youth, engage women, to ensure that we do this fairly quickly. So those are our three main things that we're looking at. I think that and one good thing about these is they're fairly quick wins. It's not something that takes a lot of time, and then you're protected against the hurricanes and natural disasters, which comes because of climate change. Once again, thank you, and that's what we're looking at here in the Bahamas.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister Weir.
Thank you, Shaun. Greetings to all of you. My brother Floyd, good to see you again. Minister Sweeten, good to see you. Good morning, good afternoon to all the investors, depending on where you are at this point in time. Look, I wish to start, first of all, by supporting President Ali and all that he said in his keynote address. I think that captures well where we need to go in terms of developing regional food agri-systems that will, help us to reach food security within the region, and two, nutritional security. The hardcore reality is that we need, first of all, to anchor how we're going to manage the supply logistics challenges that will confront the region. And I will want us to cast our minds back to COVID period, where when we wanted to get vaccines, they weren't available to us as fast as we would have liked, simply because, one, the international markets or the developed countries that would have had access to these vaccines needed to take care of their own before they can take care of us at CARICOM. And therefore, if we're going forward, then we need then to establish where it is we're going to anchor food security. In order for us to achieve this, it would take substantial investment, particularly given the vagaries of climate change. And we cannot underscore enough what climate change is likely to do to CARICOM, particularly given the fact that we are confronted by periods of hurricane. We are now experiencing prolonged periods of drought. I think these two present an opportunity for investment to take place in new agri-systems, where we can produce most, if not all, of our food in technology-driven systems that allow for us to manage climate, temperatures, water systems, and everything in one system, providing for either aquaponics or simply greenhouses and shade houses to produce most of the food that we import. I dare say to all of you that whilst it is true that our member states import over $7 billion US in food, agro-processing must now be at our core, because what is it that we import? A whole range of processed food, mayonnaise, ketchups, coffees, all those things we are importing. If we can tag along and go the full value chain, where government, first of all, is giving young farmers, particularly females in rural districts, an opportunity to participate through training and investing and giving them either the systems to grow food or the land, then that investment will take us a long way in getting people going. The other thing we need to do is enfranchise our people as well, and therefore they must be able to find a secure market where they can have their goods delivered or their produce delivered without having to go through the struggle of finding markets. That also should be a responsibility of the government. And then at the end of the day, what we want to do is to be able to find a hub through which we can then package and export. And that then creates a logistical hub that allows for the region to be able to tap in either by way of importing from that hub or passing through goods through that hub that will reach the markets which the CARICOM member state is seeking to reach. That in itself provides an opportunity for us to strictly reduce our food import bill by the year 2025 or before. And here in Barbados is why we are working with Ghana to establish the Barbados-Ghana Food Terminal, which gives us an opportunity to create, first of all, an Alibaba-type shopping environment where people can go on, check the expiry dates, use barcoding systems for food safety, and at the same time, allow for packaging and processing to take place there and export throughout the region and beyond. Barbados enjoys heavy airlift from North America and from the United Kingdom, which then gives us connections into Europe. We're also going to be having a direct service from Africa to Barbados. I think this is the right time for us to look at establishing a hub that would reach all of CARICOM, all the way up north, all the way up to the Bahamas, and equally from the Bahamas down south, all the way down to Guyana. And at the same time, allow for us then to reach our brothers and sisters in the diaspora and beyond the diaspora within Europe and within Africa as well. The establishment of a food terminal should take us about 18 months to complete with the right type of investment. And then the establishment of a state-of-the-art abattoir to give us primary cuts in meats like pork and beef and lamb, where we will no longer need to import these items for the tourism industry. Tourism industry is predominantly the main user of this type of meat cuts. And that abattoir would allow for us then to bring our carcasses in collaboration with Roraima and Guyana into Barbados. That is the reason why we're doing the Black Belly Sheep project, so that Guyana will build out the capacity. They have the land space more than what we can have. And if we can do this and then ship the carcasses to Barbados into the state-of-the-art abattoir, suddenly you have branding in terms of Barbados black belly lamb, you have branding in terms of locally cut meats, and then again, the opportunity for exports as well, using technology to be able to give us the packaging and shelf life that is required. I think these things should form really the anchor for where we need to get to by 2025. And so I'm obliged to you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ministers. Ministers, I'll be a little bit more freestyle now since we've gotten the opening question out of the way. And I'll be a little more pointed to Honorable Minister Sweetin. Certainly, with the region being a buzz activity, a shining beacon for investment in agriculture and the food systems. The Caribbean Week of Agriculture is slated for October in Bahamas. And I think it would be important to point out, and certainly other ministers, panelists that are on can chime in. What is it that we're looking for in terms of investment? I mean, we know the areas, but what type of sophistication, what type of new forms of capital? What are we looking from our attendees here? What is it that the region or individual countries want to showcase? We know the areas, but how is it that we see the partnership going? That's a question being thrown out.
Right. So first of all, I want to thank you, and Shaun, for ensuring that we was aggressive in making this happen. Um, I don't think that we've hosted the Caribbean Week of Agriculture since the 1990s, which has been a long time. So for us in the Bahamas and the region, I think that all of our countries are unique. You heard Minister Weir speak about black belly sheep and how they're being aggressive with that investment and working along with Guyana to make that happen. Jamaica is looking at spices and other ways. So I think all of us are unique and all of us bring something to the table where we can all work hand in hand. I mean, the reality is that we learn from each other, and all of us don't own a technology to any type of agricultural investment, but we should share it with one another. But in the Bahamas, like I said again, for us it's a challenge with hurricanes and storms. Just this weekend, we had in Exuma chain severe flooding through the whole Exuma chain, which would now cause all farmers there to lose all of their cash crops more than likely with just 3 days of rain. So for us, we have to look at investment and technology that is bankable and where persons could fight against this climate change action. I think all of us face these challenges in the recent region. Some have floods, some have storms, we have hurricanes, but seems as if we're having both in the Bahamas because the hurricane season has as of yet. So I think it's important that investors bring technology, innovation that helps us to harvest much quicker, help us to be very inclusive with persons, with women, persons with disability, with young individuals who want to get involved in the sector but they just don't know how. And so these type of elements, I think, once we embrace them, bring them together, then we can all find a way to take advantage of the different type of ways that we can farm now. I spoke to a company a few weeks ago that instead of vertical farming, they offer horizontal farming. So in rural areas where power might go off, or they might have challenges with electricity, for 3 to 4 days, the plants can still thrive because they don't have to be concerned about the pumping of the water up and down through vertical farming. So there's a lot of technology out there that can adapt to the areas we live, whether it's rural, whether it's countries like the Bahamas, Jamaica, Barbados, Guyana. And we just have to we have to find our niche. So for the Bahamas, we have to find the ways that we can produce quickly and help to meet this goal as quick as possible. And I think every country has their goals and what they're trying to achieve. And as long as we can bring this technology together, I'm fairly certain that it'll be something that all countries would be able to take advantage of. I'm looking forward to invite all the ministers across the region to attend. We have already started to put it together, get the rooms booked, and we're excited about have all our colleagues here in the Bahamas so we can take advantage of the technology and innovation. And another thing I want to point out as well is, for the Bahamas, this would be one of the first times that we ever embraced investment, whether it's from the region or from other countries, in the Bahamas. For the most part, it was just local entrepreneurs or farmers that was doing most of the heavy lifting. But we're looking to expand on that, and we have the land and we have access to opportunities, and we're not just looking at a tourist-based foreign direct investment country now, but also agriculture seems to be the way to go across the region and across the world.
Thank you, Minister. Other ministers? Minister Weir?
Well, first of all, I will want to support Minister Sweeten for using his good office and making sure we have another Caribbean Week of Agriculture. I think the last one we had would have been in 2019. So it's been a long break due to the COVID pandemic. I'm looking forward certainly to coming up to the Bahamas and participating in that. But I think that we really need now to focus on where we need to take agriculture. I completely agree that tourism cannot only be the main economic driver for the economies within the region. and that agriculture can play a significant role in terms of enfranchisement and empowerment. And I've seen this happen with my own two eyes. The reality is that we have an industry that perhaps Jamaica was a leader in terms of the cannabis industry, that has extreme potential for growth as well and for driving economic activities. We're currently at 13.5 billion in the global industry that is set to move up to 21.8 billion US dollars industry. That is not small business by any stretch of the imagination. And I think the time is right for investment to take place in terms of building capacity and processing, so you can get medicinal cannabis in terms of the medication that we're taking right now. In terms of being able to create facilities like spa for treatments for people. Nowadays, you go to an airport, you see bars all around. People are sitting and pouring alcohol down the back of their throat until they can board the flight. What if you can go into a facility to get a massage and some kind of treatment whilst you're waiting on your flight, or flight is being delayed? Or even to be able to get some kind of treatment because you're traveling a long distance and you have to take medication, but instead of having to pop pills, you can get a treatment that can take you through. These are all the opportunities that are now available to us. I really feel that every airport in the region should have a medicinal cannabis treatment spa. And this is something that I like to promote, especially when we come to Caribbean Week of Agriculture. But what is it that is really holding us back? It certainly isn't the ability to produce the cannabis. It is certainly not the inability to get our people moving. So the one thing that is holding us back is the banking restrictions. And I think that in order for good investment to take place, we all have to make sure that we get down to the issues of correspondent banking, particularly within the US, because from state to state that is legalized, they can trade, but outside of those states, they can't trade. And the time has come for us to have the hard conversation as to why it is that cannabis can be legalized within states in the United States, a $13 billion industry. But there are restrictions to other areas, and particularly CARICOM, from participating. I say that is wrong, and I say that the investment potential that is available to us in terms of building capacity within the region for us to be able to produce medicines from medicinal cannabis is something that we have to have a very frontal conversation about. The other thing is that too many of the processed foods that we're getting are high in sodium content. And I personally believe that we now have to look at a new form of packaging in order to increase shelf life and reduce the sodium content, so that we now have food sovereignty by knowing exactly what is going into that package and being able to stick to it, and then look at the reduction of the NCDs that are commonly related to foods that are heavily processed. So I feel that at Caribbean Week of Agriculture, we shall have some really robust discussions on these matters. And I do look forward to taking forward the investment potential that can come in terms of building out climate resilience within the region, and at the same time look at investment opportunities for processing. There are tremendous amounts of opportunities for investment within this region. Responding to climate change alone, moving to climate smart agriculture, for example, with the systems that are currently available, aeroponics and those types of systems, we have to move towards. We can't do it on a small basis. It has to be done on scale, and that is where the investment should come in.
Minister Green, you're on mute, Honorable Minister. You're still muted, Honorable Minister. You want to try again for us? Yes, we're hearing you now. No, you're off now. Not sure what's happening on your end, Minister Green. You want to try again for us? Oh, wow. Not sure what's. Can
All
you
right.
hear? Yes, yes, you're hearing me.
Good. All right. So a couple things. One, I really want to thank my brother, um, Sir Weir, for acknowledging Jamaica as a forerunner in our cannabis sector. And you've said enough, so I won't go any further. And I must say to my brother from the Bahamas, Sir Sweetie, that I'm looking forward to the Caribbean Week of Agriculture in the Bahamas. I do particularly enjoy the Bahamas, and unfortunately, I haven't been there since COVID, but I've seen that you guys have continued up pace in relation to growth, and I'm looking forward to being there. So, just a couple of things. I do believe that the Caribbean Week of Agriculture gives us another good opportunity, not just to have strong discussions and far-reaching investigations into some of the critical issues around agriculture, but clearly gives us a platform for action. And one of the things that I like about 25 by 25 initiative is that we have had clear time targets. It is time bound, and clearly the Caribbean Week of Agriculture will give us a chance to assess where we are and to continue to work towards our ultimate goal. I do hope we will look at three things. And Minister Weir spoke a little bit about banks, but he spoke about it in relation to the cannabis sector and largely the international challenges that we have regarding banking for cannabis. I do hope we'll spend some time at the Caribbean Week of Agriculture looking at financing of agriculture across the region, because our banks and our financial systems are still not organized in a manner that allows for growth of our sector. And it is a tremendous challenge. And I know all of us as ministers of agriculture, it's one of the things that really gives us a lot of grief when we see, especially our young people, our women, trying to get into agriculture, trying to be successful entrepreneurs and being unable to access the financing that they need to lead solid agricultural enterprise. That is a real issue, and that is something, Shaun, that I believe we will have to take a regional approach to, breaking the back of our commercial banks who seem risk averse to investing in agriculture. And it's something that we may need some support from our international partners, but this is a real issue that's holding back our sector. The other thing that I hope that we will spend some time putting our heads around is how can we increase our investment in regional agricultural research. I do find that we depend too heavily on our foreign partners for research and for the production of things like clean planting material, for increases in genetic research and genetics that we need, when quite frankly, there were times that the world used to look to us, to our region, for advances in these areas. And we do still have some of the best researchers in the world. But how can we scale up what they're doing? I think that has to be part of our discussion for the Caribbean Week of Agriculture. Two more things that I'm expecting that we will look at. I think we all have to come together to recraft the image of agriculture across the region, right? Agriculture has to be seen as not only sexy but viable. Our young people, we have to stop portraying our farmers as the person with the water boot who is hauling a pick and going to a ground, especially with the increases in technology. So I do believe we will have to recraft the image of agriculture. And finally, we will have to spend some time looking at the advances in big data, AI, and how that can be leveraged to increase efficiency and productivity across our agricultural sector.
Thank you, panelists. I want to pull out what I've heard. One, there's a need for alternate financing / de-risking of the sector that allows for capital to flow easily and without that can adapt to what exists currently with the various restrictions. I'm hearing investment in non-traditional crops, focus made on cannabis. I'm hearing research, investment in the area of R&D and even importantly, mentioned by the minister from Jamaica, having to do with data analytics, AI, and how do we use data in agriculture. I think that's important. I think that's a point that certainly our stakeholders who are on board would want to pay attention to.
And,
Certainly, blended finance opportunities that has been put forward by the ministers here.
and Sean, sorry, could I also
Go
add
ahead, Minister.
crop insurance is an issue for a lot of countries in this region. I don't know if there's a way as a region we can collectively work together to do that. I know that in regards to hurricane risk insurance, that we in the Bahamas are a part of a regional thing where we pay out in that regard. But I think that's something that we need to look at as ministers to protect our farmers, especially with all these natural disasters. Like, for example, in Axuma now, we're going to have to find funding to subsidize the farmers in Axuma who just had 3 days of flooding. And for them to bounce back, it's going to be, astronomical in regards of funding. So funding is an issue, and insurance, so we can find a regional solution. I think that is something that's imperative for us as agriculture region.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Certainly, insurance and crop insurance is a critical role. And given the pronouncements we've heard with the challenges which exist as relates to climate change and effects that we as a region feel from climate change. Panelists, I'm seeing our time is coming down, but there's a burning question that has been asked 3 times, and I think I would like to just a 40-second response from each panelist. And that's the issue of water and agriculture, water and energy. I know as island states, for most part, water and the cost of energy is a real challenge. Just in context to respond to some of the questions here that are dealing with water and energy, how do you see it, certainly at your national level in relation to agriculture? What are the investments that you're seeing? What is it, promoted that our investors would want to look at? I will start with Minister Weir.
Thank you, Shaun. Well, I think that the question is a very good one, actually. Sir, the region in itself will forever be confronted by climatic events. We are not going to get away from a rainy season with prolonged rainfall and floods. To mitigate that, I would strongly recommend that we look at some water harvesting systems. Of course, these systems take significant investment. But water harvesting systems would allow for us to be able to provide water, which is separate from potable water, for our farmers to have access to a year-round supply of water. We go through a period between, I would say, late December through to June, or through to the end of June, where it is extremely dry. And most of the times, you don't get rainfall enough to be able to assist farmers. And so what happens is that farming then competes with the domestic usage of water in terms of potable water. That is something that we need to address. Of course, this is not across all of the member states. Ghana, for example, enjoys good rainfall, but other member states may not. And investment in water harvesting systems is key. It provides an opportunity for a couple of things. One, it allows for aquaculture to take place, because in setting up the water harvesting system, you can do shrimp, you can do freshwater fish as well. And then the addition to that would be the renewable energy, where you can have the panels across these systems that allow for the reduction in evaporation and provide energy, one, to be able to drive the systems, the pumping facilities, etc., and at the same time feed into the national grid in order to get a return on that investment. And we all know that investment in renewable energy has the highest and the safest return at this point in time. And until something else comes along, the reality is that renewable energy is really the place to invest. So water harvesting systems that take into consideration the use of aquaculture and renewable energy is my recommendation. And we have started a process here in Barbados at Layers and at River. We are now about to complete the first shrimp project. We're yet to put in the renewable energy, but these are opportunities that are now ripe for investment. I strongly believe also that we should have wind turbine systems that can be linked to one, either sugarcane fields, or if you have massive tracts of land doing fruit production, then wind turbine energy is an opportunity that is available. So you have the land and the wind. And then livestock farming in terms of sheep, goat, where you can have your PV systems, you have your water harvesting with it, and then you have the grazing facilities for the animals so that you have forage, renewable energy, and water. These are opportunities that we need to exploit. Currently, as it stands, everything is just as it was in the past, where you have pastures for grazing. There is an opportunity for photovoltaic systems and an opportunity for harvesting. And I think if we're going to address climate change, we have to look at the opportunities that present a good return on investment for those who are putting in the investment. And you will get that in renewable energy, but also you then start to see the benefits in terms of continue to build capacity in your livestock and allow for harvesting to take place in terms of water provision. So you knock off all four in one go.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. I'll ask the other two panelists to give 40 seconds, but also as we wind down to closing, to also give a closing position, a message to leave with to our investors or stakeholders, potential investors and stakeholders who are on board about the region, about the member states, and about the sector. And I'll go with Minister Sweetin, and I'll ask to close with Minister Weir, with Minister Green in between.
Okay. Thanks, Shaun. I'll try to wrap it up in 40 seconds. But I think I'll piggyback off of Minister Weir. I think all us in the region, basically, we know the issues. We might vary in some aspects, but water and electricity costs and reliability are all challenges. But for us, we're looking at horizontal and vertical farming, as well as other closed systems that are outside in regards to water. And in South Eleuthera, we have a farm that they're using, I think it might be Vertigo, where they have a closed loop system where they minimize the use of water to ensure that they just keep using whatever they have and keep recycling and replenishing the water supply with that system. That's one that seems to be effective. Another challenge would be, of course, not just electricity costs, but the reliability. PV seems to be solarization and the way to go. We have some poultry farms in the Bahamas that are utilizing, and the government subsidized a few of those, so that we have Abaco Big Bird that are using PV to reduce costs and reliability there in the northern Bahamas. So, I think for us, we have some areas where we can use tidal electricity, to create some electricity in some areas of the Bahamas. But for the region, I think all of us face very similar challenges. And I think investors that are looking to assist to mitigate those, I think all of us could utilize that. For the Bahamas, we try to reduce, try to eliminate and ensure that we have 30% renewables by 2030. So we're aggressive with that, and we're trying to implement that in the agriculture sector as well. But in closing, I would say that for us in the Bahamas and in the region, we're looking to expand on the agricultural sector. We import most of the food that we eat. Bahamas is over 90%, which is around $1 billion US dollars per annum. And as the tourism sector grows, that I'm sure will grow as well. So once we find ways to innovate, technology innovation, find ways to reduce electricity costs, reliable electricity, minimize the usage of water and different type of agri-food systems, I think we can all utilize those to implement in our countries and in our region to expand on the success that we're started to have and rebound the agricultural sector. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Minister Green.
Yes, so I think water is covered. Definitely, we need to see an expansion of irrigation systems. Unfortunately, we still have a lot of urban land that is not under irrigated water supply, which increases the cost to get water to the farms and reduces productivity. And we do go through periods of intense drought. We've just come out of one. So, the government has been investing significant amounts. In fact, we're now looking to put another 1,000 hectares under irrigation supply through public-private support and international support. And that's very, very important. Probably our most ambitious project that we're looking to embark on is to take water from our longest navigable river and to use it to irrigate some of our most productive plains, which is stated to be done at about 200 million United States dollars. So there are potential for those sort of big ticket investment items in irrigation right across the length and breadth of Jamaica. And again, it has largely depended on the government to do this, but we are moving to see how we can have more public-private partnership in that regard, because these projects are feasible, they are financially feasible, and we want to lessen the time that it takes to get these projects to our farmers. I want to see more looks into things like desalination for agriculture. And again, I think that's an area of prime investment that people could come in and look. We are all surrounded by water, and as such, that is tremendous potential. Renewable energy, we've spoken about time and time again, but we are blessed with significant periods of sunshine. So we do need to see not just renewable energy projects for generating energy in general, but renewable energy projects linked to agriculture. So using renewable energy to drive those storage facilities, those post-harvest facilities that can give us the sort of return that is needed. So I think that is very, very critical. And we want to see further advancements. We've seen some advancements in relation to technology around irrigation on farm, like drip technology, which has taken off in Jamaica. We want to see more of those new technologies make it into our agricultural sector. I think in general, we want to commend a number of our international partners, like the World Bank and a number of global foundations, impact investment funds, for looking to invest in our agricultural sector. But clearly, there is tremendous opportunity, as you would have heard from this panel. Protected agriculture, how can we move into more protected agriculture that can keep us from some of the ravages of our climate realities? Clearly, that is critical. Where I think we are still lacking is private capital, venture capital. Not seeing enough of that go into our agricultural sector. We do have, right across the region, strong agripreneurs, people who've gone into value added, but they are doing niche markets that are small. They need to scale up. How can we help to scale up that small scale Blue Mountain coffee farmer? We do know best coffee in the world, significant demand. How can we get venture capital to partner with more of our agricultural companies and help them list on areas like the stock exchange, list across the region, and use that capital to drive growth? So we need to see that. My final word, the time is now. Tremendous opportunity. We're looking to build 10,000 new rooms in our tourism sector over the next 5 years. We have not only gone back to pre-COVID levels of arrivals, we've passed that. Everybody who comes here has to be fed. Right across the region, we're expanding our tourism program. People are coming to the Caribbean like never before. They have to be fed, and they want regionally grown produce. The time for investment is now.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. And we close off with Honorable Minister Weir, and then we'll give a few closing remarks.
Well, Shaun, first of all, I want to start by thanking you and the CARICOM Secretariat for making this possible. I want to also thank my fellow panelists for participating. It's good to see all of you since we haven't seen each other in a while. The truth is that all of what we've mentioned this morning should be nucleus for what new investment should look like within the region. I'd just like to highlight a couple of things that I think that we really need to put focus on. The issue of correspondent banking is a big problem, and we need to have some very brutally frank conversations about it, because I think we need to right-size this. The opportunities in terms of mitigating climate change and building resilience, we need to continue to focus on, because that gives us an opportunity to take agriculture where it has never been before within the region, and that is to get to vibrant agro-processing so that we help to reduce the food import bill and reach our target of 5% by the year 2025 or even surpass it. And then the opportunities with renewable energy that allow for us, as Minister Green said, that we take advantage of something that we've been blessed with, and that is sunshine. And the one thing that we can pretty much speak to and be certain about at this point in time is that we will continue to have good sunshine. So those are the opportunities that I feel that we need to zoom in on. Agro-processing must be at the core of everything we do, because you cannot empower and enfranchise farmers without going the full value chain, and that we must be cognizant of. As I said before, a farmer can produce, but if he does not have certainty, you're not going to get consistency of supply. And therefore, in order for us to be able to mesh the two, we must now move to a point where we have agro-processing at the core of everything. So I think the time is right. I think there's extremely good potential to attract foreign direct investment. And it is for us now to be able to make available to potential investors what opportunities are available within CARICOM. I'm prepared to submit the prospectus that we have for the food terminal and the abattoir, our plant tissue culture lab as well, which is a $15 million project that allows for us to do clean planting material for Barbados, but also help the rest of CARICOM if they need clean planting material too. So these are opportunities that are available. And I sincerely thank you and the CARICOM Secretariat for giving us this opportunity to highlight what is happening within the region.
Thank you very much, honorable ministers, stakeholders who are here. I think we have set the stage. It's, as Minister Green said, the time is now. As Minister Weir said, certainly we have to look at how it is that we attract investment. And as Minister Sweetin said, it is FDI that we're looking into the region, also supporting our regional entrepreneurs who are investing in agriculture, developing various products, different services. And I think the time is now for certainly our investors who are here on the call, who are our stakeholders who are listening, support the region. Our 25 by 25 is real, as we can see that the commitment is there from every single member states who are on. And we're reaching out to you. Let's have the dialogue. We want to thank 17 Asset Management. We want to thank certainly FAO and other stakeholders who have made this possible. And thank you to our panelists, our three champions, one of our three champions in the region, Minister Green, Minister Sweetin, and Minister Weir. Thank you much. And please stay tuned for the rest of the conference that will take you until 5 today. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. All right.